Wow, ultimate. Strong word, Zaka. Yeah, I know. We're going to be covering skill books. Everything that you need to know from skill book selection to skill book placement. After watching this video, never again will you have to be worried about not knowing what to do regarding skill books for your generals. In fact, I am so confident about the ultimateness of this ultimate skill book guide that I'm even going to include a free 30-day money back guarantee. Yep, that's right. No strings attached, completely free of charge. Hi, and welcome to Red Evony. I am Akayasha. You can call me Aka. Let's dive right in. There are two main processes involved when it comes to putting skill books on your generals. The first is actually selecting the skill books you're going to use, and then the second is the actual placement of the skill books on the general. We're going to cover both of those. First up, selection. When we're going through this selection process, we're going to be looking at two main types of books. Books that you must have on your general and books that you are free to choose what you put on the general. Now that we've got that clear, let's start looking at generals. We're going to start off with the simplest ones, duty generals. And simply put, duty generals do not need any skill books. See, I told you, simple. Next up, rally joining generals. For these types of generals, there are only three books that you should be considering. I'll just get to my Cleopatra right here. The first book that you need to be looking at is March Speed. The second book that you need to be looking at is Monster March Speed. These two books. So for your Cleopatras and your Baybars, these are the kind of books that you put on them. We have a third book, and that is for any joining general that does not have the native lock skill. So looking at my Sanada here, we have March Speed, we have Monster March Speed, and we have Lock. These are the three books that you're going to be looking at putting on your rally joining generals. Moving on, we go to sub-city generals. Now for sub-city generals, there are two books that are really must-have books. First one is training capacity, and the next one is training speed. Now for preference books, we have two main options. The first one is construction, and then the second one is rebirth. Those are the two books that you'll be looking to choose from when you want to finalize what books go on your sub-city generals. Now, my personal preference would be Rebirth over Construction because Rebirth increases the survival rate of troops in your sub-city. And I personally think that that is the more beneficial book to have. From here, we move on to boss killing generals. Now, boss killing generals are essentially mounted troop generals that are not specialized for PvP. So the kind of books that you would have on here for your must-haves, you will have mounted troop attack, you would have mounted troop HP. Now, both the attack books and the HP books have two varieties to them. You have the regular book, like we see here, Mounted Troop Attack, and then we have the monster books, like we see here, Mounted Troop Attack against monsters. You can have both types of books on your general. So you could have, for example, the regular Mounted Troop Attack, and you could also have Mounted Troop Attack against monster. If we look at my Li Jing right here, I have regular mounted troop HP. I also have mounted troop HP against monster. The final book that you really need to have on any boss killing general is Lock. You need the Lock book to increase your double drop rate, and since you're going to be using that general primarily for killing monsters, that is something that is going to seriously help your game. Other preference books that you could potentially choose from: March Size Increase. You could choose from Mounted Troop Defense, Mounted Troop Defense against Monster, those kind of books. In the case of boss killing generals, however, you would primarily want to stay within the must-have books. So your HPs, your attacks, and your lock book. And now we move on to the main event, PvP generals. We'll start off with Archer generals. Now for your Archer generals, there are two books that are must-have books. First one, Range Troop Attack. It's a must-have book. The second one, Range Troop Range Bonus. These are the two books that are must-haves for your range general. Now, in terms of preference books, you'll be looking at Range Troop HP, Range Troop Defense, March Size. Those three books. Now, there's a lot of debate about whether to go with defense or to go with HP for your range general. It's something I debated myself as well. I finally came down on the side of defense for my range general. I get the argument for wanting to put HP on your range general. However, a teammate of mine, I think, said it best, and it's something that stuck with me. And he said that by the time your range general needs to use HP, they are most likely halfway to dead already. Better go with defense. That stuck with me, and it's what I chose. So you have the choice between defense and HP. A lot of people go with either or. Take your pick. Next, we're going to ground generals. Now, this one might be a bit controversial for some people, but the way I see it, ground generals have two books that are must-have books. The first one is Ground Troop Defense. The second one is Ground Troop Attack. For your preference books, you can have Ground Troop HP, Ground Troop Speed, or March Size Capacity. Now, some people might be wondering, why is Ground Troop HP in a preference and not a must-have? And why is Ground Troop Attack a must-have and not in preference? It's actually very simple. For ground troops, HP is their largest stat, and ground troops have the most HP out of all the troops in the game. Using a book to further boost HP is kind of like pouring sand on the top of a mountain to make it higher. Ground troops already have a lot of HP, and there are a lot of other avenues to add more HP to your ground troops and to your general than books. On the other hand, while ground troop attack is objectively the weakest stat for ground troops, it is also one of the hardest stats in the game to debuff. And in my opinion, it is the primary reason why ground clears work so much and are so effective in the game. So for your ground general, you want to do your best to make sure that ground attack is as high as possible. When we're talking about the preferences, ground troop speed is an interesting addition because I feel it is the natural counter to the range troop range bonus book. It works on the PvP mechanics of the game, and it increases the speed of your ground troops when engaging in PvP. So that is one reason to have it as a consideration. Of course, March size capacity increase book is also an option, but I feel that you have a lot of other options to increase your march size, so having that book is not a huge priority. Currently, I have Ground Troop HP as my preference choice on my ground general. There may come a time where I want to switch things up and put on Ground Troop Speed instead. That is a possibility, and it's definitely something that I have in consideration. Next up, Mounted Troop Generals. Your Mounted Troop Generals have two must-have books. Mounted Troop Attack, Mounted Troop HP. These two. For your preference books, you have Mounted Troop Defense, Mounted Troop Speed, March Size Capacity Increase. Now, Mounted Troop Defense is pretty much self-explanatory. Mounted Troop Speed is pretty similar to the Ground Troop Speed. For me, right now, I kept it simple. I've gone with Mounted Troop Attack, Mounted Troop Defense, and Mounted Troop HP. All in all, you can't go wrong with this selection of books. Okay, moving on to Siege Generals. And please, please, please don't laugh that I have Sherman as my Siege General. Okay? He's what I have for now, and he's what I'm using. For Siege Generals, it's really very simple. There are three must-have books. That's it. Nothing else. We're looking at Siege Attack, Siege Range Bonus, and Siege Machine HP. Those three books. Those are the only three books that matter to Siege Generals. Finally, we're going to be looking at Wall Generals. Now, The talk of world generals is going to be slightly more complicated than the other generals that we've looked at so far. Basically, for the world generals, you have one book that is a must-have book, and that is the Siege Range book. So this book is a must-have for world generals of all types. Beyond this point, everything else I feel is a preference book. And what would dictate the kind of books that you choose at this point is really the type of world general that you have and the type of troops that you're trying to focus on. Now, when it comes to preference books for your world general, there are a lot of considerations. Range troop range bonus, ground troop speed, mounted troop speed, ground attack, range attack, siege attack. Those are primarily the preference books that you'll be looking at. And then you can tailor your selection based on the type of general that you have and the type of troops that you're trying to boost. The case of my Joseph Johnston here, I went with range troop range bonus and range troop attack. So one other guideline that can help you with your selection, except for the main skill of your world general, is what is the stat that will be the most difficult for you to boost. For example, if you feel ground attack might be the most difficult thing for you to increase on your world general, you would want to consider putting a ground attack book on there. If, for example, you feel that you're not going to have any issues with raising the stats for your world general, then you can look at other benefit books such as ground troop speed or mounted troop speed. Now, once you're through with the selection process and you've decided what 3 books you want to put on your general, the next thing is actually placing the books on the general. For illustration purposes, I'm going to go to a general that I have that doesn't have any books on them right now. So the first thing that you want to keep in mind when it comes to placement is you want to start off with level 1 books. For my Nathaniel Green here, who is a rally joining general, the 3 books I want to go with are March Speed, Monster March Speed, and Lock. Those are the 3 books that I've selected. Now, when you're placing your books, you want to start off with the book that you have the most number of, because that is the book that is going to have the highest chance of being replaced. So you start off with that one first. Looking here, for Lock, I have 23. For Monster March Speed, I have 13. And then for March Speed, I have 17. So I'm going to start off with the Lock book. After placing your first book, you want to go with the next one that you have the highest number of. In this case, that will be my March Speed. Now I have 2 books on here. And in all honesty, when it comes to placing of books, it's all a matter of luck. No pun intended. Finally, I'm going to go to my Monster March Speed and try and place that on there. There we go. Luckily, all 3 books went in, no need for replacement whatsoever. After you've gotten all the level 1 books that you want on, the next thing is to put on the level 4 books. You don't have to worry about the wrong book being replaced because the level 4 book will go directly on top of the corresponding level 1 book. So in this case, we're looking for March Speed. There we go. Put that one on. Replaces the level 1 March Speed book. We come here. We're looking for Monster March Speed. We put it on. Replaces the level 1 Monster March Speed book. And finally, we're looking for Lock. We put it on. Replaces the level 1 Lock book. And there you have it. Level 4 books on. Nice, simple, straightforward, and easy. Now, this placement style is well known, and this is what most people will recommend to you when it comes to placing books. There is one exception, however. There are certain generals that do not take the level 1 book of certain skills that you're trying to put on them. Let me show you an example. I have Khalid here. Now, Khalid's main skill is increases siege machine attack by 20%, and increases mounted troop attack by 20%. Khalid is a general that has been in the game for a long time. He's a well-known general. Now, by his main skill, he should be able to take a siege machine attack book and a mounted troop attack book. So let's go in. Now, we look for the level 1 mounted troop attack book. We have it here. If we try to place it on, it says the new skill has a 0 chance to replace any of these existing books. That basically means that the book can go on without any problem. However, if we try to put on the siege machine attack book, here's what it says. The general already has a skill at a higher level. It generally means that the general cannot accept that book that you're trying to put on them. However, for Khalid's skill, since it's a dual skill for 2 different troop types and 2 different stats, he should be able to take the siege book. And in reality, he can. Now, if you look here, I have another Khalid that has been fully booked. And you can tell the difference by the number right next to the name. And what do we have here? Level 4 Siege Machine Attack Book. But previously, it said that Khalid couldn't accept the level 1 book. So the exception to the placement style that we had earlier is that there are some generals that do not actually accept the level 1 book of a particular skill, but accept higher levels of that skill. So Khalid, for example, will not accept the level 1, level 2, or level 3 Siege Machine Attack book. He will only accept the level 4 book. So when you're doing your placement with Khalid, for the Siege Machine Attack alone, you have to go straight with the level 4 book. No choice about that there. The final note on placement, which naturally segues to the next topic that we're going to be talking about, is the reason why placing with level 1 books first is the best practice is simply because level 4 books are valuable. They're hard to get. They don't come by that easy. So you want to make sure that when you use them, they actually go on and you don't risk losing your valuable level 4 books. Then a natural question comes up is that, okay, how do I get more level 4 books? There are 4 main ways for you to get more level 4 books. The first one is coining, simply spending money. There are few things in Evony that cannot be solved by throwing enough cash at it. Getting more level 4 books is one of them. You have a look at the packs and the extra bonuses that you get when you spend money. A lot of the time you would have level 4 books coming at you from somewhere in there. The next thing, which is the more common thing that a lot of people will be doing, is decomposing excess skill books that they have into skill book pages. I'll just show you what that is very quickly. So you come to your skill books in your inventory and you pick a book. Let's go with this, Ground Troop Speed. And you see it has disassemble there. When you click that and you click disassemble, it disassembles into one skill book page. Level 1 books disassemble into one skill book page. Level 2, 2 pages. Level 3, 3 pages. Level 4, 4 pages, like that. And you need 10 skill book pages to make one level 4 book. And when you come over to this side of your inventory, you can see the skill book pages right there. Once you have 10, you can hit compose. It composes to one level 4 book. All the excess books that you have or you don't need, you disassemble them into level 4 books. Now, the level 4 book chest that you have here gives you skill books at random. So there's going to be a lot of luck involved in this. You'll probably have to try a few times to get the right skill book that you're looking for, but this is a good way to stack up on level 4 books. Another way that you can get more skill book pages is from the rewards for the Gather Troop event. We have them here, the luxury treasure chest. Now, if you click on this treasure chest, you see you have one skill book page in there. So the more of these chests that you get, the more skill book pages you have, and then the more you'll be able to compose level 4 books. The final way that you can get level 4 books and this is arguably my favorite way, is from relics. We come to the relic page, we can review the previews there, level 4 skill book chest. Now, you won't get them every time, but it's definitely one way for you to stack up on level 4 books without too much problems. And you also get a lot of extra stuff on the way as well. Now, for anyone that is watching this video, particularly from the part of selection, and is thinking something like, oh crap, I messed up my skill books, what do I do? Don't worry, skill books are very easy to replace. All you need to do is make sure that you have enough of the books that you want to actually put on. You start off with the skill that you actually want to replace, and it's really a matter of luck from that point. If you get lucky, it replaces the one skill that you want to get rid of. Otherwise, it's the exact same process as placement. Start off with the level 1. When you get all the books on, then you slap on the level 4s. So, after watching this, if you still have any questions regarding skill books that you would like cleared up, be sure to leave a comment down below. Thank you. Aka signing out.